Welcome, welcome back, folks. It's another episode of Southbound and Down, the premier NFC podcast. I'm excited to be here tonight to talk with my best buddies on the internet about a historically bad NFC South. And you know what? It's like been the same opening every week for the last 14 weeks. Really, nothing's changed. So, I want to give everybody a chance to say hello and introduce themselves, and we will start with the leaders of the division, which is, refresh my memory, I don't even know.
The Saints.
The Saints. They took it with a win over the Bears. I just erased the Cutler sign. Say hello, Greg.
Hello, everybody. This is Greg. You can contact me at IntenseGB and on Twitter. You know me. I definitely talk football, wrestling, basketball, whatever. But anyway, here representing the Saints today.
Let me
leaders. At least.
Let me ask you one question. One question here. Do you feel like a champion?
No, because we ain't won it yet. Gotta win it.
Champion.
We're on a house of, no lie, we're on a house of cards here. This is a house of cards.
All right, let's turn it to the next, the next in line, Atlanta Falcons. How's it going, Scott?
It's going pretty good. I had Greg on my show yesterday, and I figured it was a lot of fun.
What were you Hey, let me ask you one question. Were you guys polishing a turd?
You mean like the entire division is right now?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, let's be honest here. The division is likely going to have a 7-win champion.
Yeah.
Not the first time ever. Not the first time for a division winner.
First time for an NFC South division winner.
Yes. Right. For this division, yes.
I think it's the first time that this division has had a winner that will have a single-digit win total.
Yeah, agreed. Because, this division generally always has a 10-11 win. You know, I can't even remember when we were 9. No one's ever 9-7 and won a division.
Joey, say hello for Carolina.
2007, Tampa Bay won it 9-7.
Okay.
The winner has had at least 11 wins every year outside of 2006.
Yep, that's about right. About right.
And for the last, half decade, 2008 until now, they've had at least a dozen wins, or they've been 13-3.
Wow.
So what do you call it, Joey? Joey, tell us what you've always called the NFC South that has not proved true.
I have called it the NFC Stout.
Not so much for that. Say hello, Joe.
Yes. Hello, NFC Southeast. This is the freaking Puerto Rican, a.k.a. Joe Rilano, proudly representing the Carolina Panthers. And we are looking forward to putting Johnny Money Mansell in a house of pain come Sunday.
Take it to the bank. Preach it, brother. All right, now to the bottom, which isn't that far from the top. That is Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Wow.
What's up, my man?
Hey, this is Gene. Hey, this is Gene. You can find me Super Heavyweight on Twitter. I'm hoping Santa Claus brings us some good offensive linemen and some good players for the draft. We still need a quarterback. We can fit in with the rest of the NFC South. But we're all down at the bottom, and I feel bad for all of us. This is the first time ever me saying that I feel bad for a Saint or a Panther or a Falcon, but we're all at the bottom, and it's kind of embarrassing to have a single-digit champion going in to represent us into the playoffs.
Well, my name is Tony Dunn from Carolina Cat Chronicles, and this is Southbound and Down podcast. You can tweet us live using the hashtag Southbound. And as the professor is going to put a different spin on it, I'm glad all the other teams suck. I'm glad the NFC South sucks because you can share my misery. Let's jump in, and I want to just go around each. We're going to start with the top and go to the bottom again, from top to bottom. Greg, tell us if you're just going to, kind of put two stories, what are the kind of the two storylines in New Orleans right now amongst the fan base and what people are talking about the team?
Well, I mean, I don't think that we're celebrating the Chicago win very much at this point because, I mean, for one thing, we're glad we won it, but it's nothing to celebrate at this point. I mean, it was Chicago, for heaven's sakes, and they're a dumpster fire. But the thing about it is that we got to look ahead because we got Atlanta, and we're not only facing Atlanta, we're facing a 4-game home losing streak, which is kind of unheard of over the last several years for us. So I think
would you say then that the idea of breaking getting back on track at home and the division matchup is the kind of highlight of what people are talking about?
Yeah, because I mean, the thing about it is this. I mean, as I spoke with Scott, it's based on elimination game. Whoever pretty much wins is in, and whoever pretty much loses is pretty much out. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still other things got to happen, like the Panthers got to lose to the Browns or whatever. But pretty much whoever loses this game is pretty much out. They can just, I mean, they're pretty much off the board at that point. So I mean, if that doesn't wake up the players on both teams, to get out there and fight like I mean, mad crazy dogs to win this thing, I don't know what will.
Scott, how does it look on the other side of that matchup?
I would be very shocked if Mike Smith is coaching in Atlanta next year.
Okay.
Unless the Falcons somehow win the Super Bowl, but let's not get crazy here.
Well, yeah, you really spiked your coffee there, didn't you?
Yeah, like I didn't even know what that sentence meant.
Like I said, I'm not getting crazy. I'm saying unless that happens, Mike Smith is fired.
Okay.
Oh, there's something else.
So he's fired. So he's fired.
And Thomas Dimitroff is probably going with it.
You think so?
Yes, I agree.
Dimitroff's gone too.
So I keep thinking Dimitroff stays because I think that generally most times GMs usually get to hire two coaches. Usually,
but I think Dimitroff's gone, and I think Lionel Vital is the guy that takes over for him. In-house. Don't even go out of house. And I think Scott Hogan gets fired as well.
Where is what's Dickie V's son doing there in Atlanta?
If it's Dickie V's son, it's a Thomas Jefferson situation. I'm just going to put it that way.
Oh, okay. All right. So Lionel, what's his role in the organization now?
He's the director of player personnel.
I see.
And he came in a couple years back, probably 2009. And he was the guy who a lot of teams this past year were like, yeah, we're going to pull in Vital. He had a lot of interviews for GM spot. But he was like, no, I'm going to stick around in Atlanta for another year. He had honestly agreed to terms with the Buccaneers to take their job before backing out last minute because he didn't want to have Lovie Smith have the full reign, the final call on the team. He wanted to have the final call on personnel. So that's why he backed out of Tampa. In Atlanta, he could get that.
Let me ask you a question on that because I mean, my thinking here is that okay, it makes sense to move him over to the GM spot because he's the guy that's been picking the players and all that. But you're kind of firing Dimitroff for this for some of the players they picked, draft picks and everything else.
That's a good point.
Shouldn't Vital be kind of lumped into that because he is wearing that title and he's in there? And if you're saying he got some final say on who's brought in, you got the other guy who's cooking the groceries on the field. You got Dimitroff who's kind of orchestrating everything.
Right, managing the budget, so to speak.
Vital might think about having that bullseye too. I mean, it's kind of because considered incompetent and then be promoted.
Let's put it this way: the way Vital has been working, they kind of track what everybody says about every player. And Vital has been a lot more right behind the scenes than Dimitroff or the other guys have. So they're saying, he said don't bring in Tyson Jackson. We've already got a guy like that. Don't bring in this guy. We've already got a guy like that. They had Tyson Jackson and Malachi Goodman for a rookie minimum contract type deal.
Mm-hmm.
Why? So he's like, why do you have to do that? You've already got the guy on the roster. Why would you bring in this guy? You've already got this guy on the roster. You're duplicating the same guy over and over again. It doesn't make any sense. You don't need multiple guys to do the exact same things over and over again. Let's bring in this guy instead. He was a big push behind a couple different players behind the scenes. Like he was like, hey, let's go get Paul Soliai because we don't have a giant nose tackle. That's what we really need to make Nolan's defense work. So
let me ask this about this. So all right, so the people are talking. The buzz is kind of about the organizational structure right now. With the changing of the guard or the head coach and how deep these changes would go. What's the other kind of storyline among the Atlanta Falcons? Is it Julio right now and his health and how dependent you guys are the success will be upon that?
I mean, that's a storyline, but that's not really a big one. Julio is Julio. Atlanta's offense has issues in the red zone more than anything else. Like, yeah, they're fifth in terms of scoring touchdown percentage, and that's great and all. But what they don't tell you is that when Atlanta really needs a touchdown is when they don't score it. So I don't know if it's bad luck or what. Honestly, the real issue when it comes to Atlanta right now is off the field. The coaching staff is not getting along with the players. OC, Corey Peters, Jonathan Massaquoi, basically the defensive line is like, we're being misused. The exact same things I've been saying on this show all season.
I've heard Massaquoi was speaking out about and upset with his limited role in the offense. Defense, excuse me. No, all right, so what we got is that's some deep, those are deep problems, Joey, in Atlanta, where they go from top. That's really deep in the organization. What's going on in Carolina right now, Joe, that sticks out as the storylines?
Cam's health and whether or not he's going to play this week. Personally, I'm of the opinion that we should sit him. Sit him this week and let him go maybe next week. If we win and the Saints lose, definitely play him next week if that's the case. I think that's one storyline. And I guess something of a storyline is right there on the board behind you. Hide your drugs, Panthers fans and players, because Frankie is back. Frank Alexander has returned. He's been running.
The savior of the Carolina Panthers.
Now that he's back, our defense is going to get right.
Of course. That is the answer. Frank Alexander.
Him and his career 3.5 sacks will bring this team back to where they belong.
He's going to get the other half so he can make it a full 4.
If he had 4 sacks, he'd be better than Greg Hardy.
Well, right now, yeah. Greg Hardy is shining his AKs at home right now.
Yeah.
Well, good. If we're going to have guns, you should take care of them.
How about this? Let me ask one more, and then we'll go on. Is with the Panthers, and you just heard the New Orleans Saints talk about how this is a house of cards. Greg saying that the NFC South, one game it's going to turn on a dime or could turn on a dime. You got Atlanta going into a tough environment, but with a real opportunity to win, the beatable Saints right now. How are the Carolina Panthers fans? I think one of the big storylines is what the hell is going on in Atlanta and New Orleans, because we have to pull for Atlanta. That's really the only thing that could potentially happen that would be good for the Carolina Panthers.
Right. I can't think of a time when I have ever pulled for Atlanta, except for this Sunday.
See, it's funny. Atlanta Falcons fans don't really have any issues with the Panthers.
I know.
That's not true. It's not
we just
true.
Don't like
He's lying.
No, honestly, we have no issues with the Panthers. We just don't like Kraken.
You know what is, Joey, we've been at a game. I've been at a game. I sat beside some Atlanta Falcon fans, and we had a good time. Wore the Super Cam cape out there and all of that. And I would say this: I think Atlanta Falcons fans think they're too cool to have a problem with the Carolina Panthers. Because
No, it's that the Carolina Panthers are like the youngest brother. All right, we're like the Falcons and the Saints. They're a year apart. Like Atlanta's the big brother there. Atlanta's the older brother. You know, and then the Saints were a year younger.
About a younger brother.
So they're the
all right.
they're the younger brother. They're the middle brother. And then you've got the Carolina Panthers, who's the ultimate baby brother. And then the Buccaneers are kind of like that cousin that came in from another area. That cousin that moved to town from, like, Michigan. You know, a decade ago.
What are you?
That's what the Buccaneers
like,
because
I hear
Carolina and everybody all played each other all the time. They've always been in the same division.
Okay.
It's just they were in the NFC West in the most illogical scheme of a division ever. So they chopped us off the NFC West. They put Tampa Bay with us and said, get out of the central Tampa Bay. That doesn't even make geographical sense there either.
Not at all.
And you guys are the South. And now, geographically, the division makes the most sense in football.
Yes.
Okay, let me ask. I want to ask Gene this right now. Is you just heard the family lineage of the NFC South?
It makes perfect. It does make perfect sense though when you think about it. We play in Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, and Chicago. You know, and here we are in right below Atlanta. You know, it doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, y'all were the vacation spot on the road games for those guys when we got ready to come play you.
And let me tell you, in the early '90s, it used to be nothing but Packer fans. That is no lie. I mean, it would be 78, 80 degrees outside, nothing but Packer fans.
Absolutely.
They would fill up the stadium. Same with Chicago. The Bears fans would come down and be the same thing.
Well, that's the thing, because I mean, think about it. If they're playing you in November, December, they're freezing up there. Why the hell are they going to go up there? They can come down 80 degrees, watch a game, be half naked, and watch football.
That's right. You can't beat that.
Flip-flops and a cowboy hat.
That's right.
Gene, let me say this before you jump into what the storylines in Tampa are. Do you feel like a cousin from Phoenix in the NFC South?
Michigan, man.
He did say Michigan, but Gene does.
I know he said Michigan, but
what's so funny? What is so funny about all this is when the Saints were the first team where I would go to a game and I'd be sitting next to Saints fans and we would trash talk the whole game. And that it was fun. You know, it was a lot of fun. We'd get down and barbecue at the tailgate and stuff together, and then when it's game time, we are at each other's throats, trash talking.
It still happens.
Yeah,
that still happens.
And it was fun. And Atlanta fans, they done forgot about when they were a bad team, and they act like they ain't never been bad, and just ultimately I'm serious right now. They act like they're the Patriots, and the Patriots forgot they were bad, and this is the same thing. I mean,
I think that's how the Saints act.
Well, no, I will. Let me say one thing. I will definitely say this: the Saints are probably the only team in the division that actually has a rivalry with all three. Heated rivalry with all three teams. You know what I mean? Atlanta's a blood feud that I don't know. I mean, as deep as the Hatfield and McCoy. It's as simple as that. We hate each other.
Atlanta has no feud with the Panthers because they're just
But the Saints we have a feud with the Panthers, and then we have ours with Tampa Bay, and with Tampa Bay is a heated one in a sense. But it's still, I mean, like I said, I go to the Saints Tampa games, and Saints fans and Bucs fans are out tailgating and talking smack and everything else. We get into the game, and I mean, I get a cup thrown at me because I'm cheering, and stuff like that. Yes, that has happened.
But I'm gonna tell you honestly, I've gone to Saints games in New Orleans, and I've been treated real good. I mean, and I tell you what, I mean, we get out there and tailgate, and when it's game time, they're just as crazy as they can get.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, nobody's gonna bother you there in that sense.
No, it's just all talk. And
Right.
if you got thin skin, don't go.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, but we do have somewhat of a rivalry. We're that brother that fucks with everybody. We piss all y'all off, one way or another. I ain't gonna even lie about that. I because of the
That's
truth.
because you're always drunk.
We got Bourbon Street. What else you supposed to do?
I know.
For crying out loud, the street's name is bourbon.
I'm buying voodoo purses, good luck charms, strip joints, and beer, and some food. I mean, I'm sorry if I'm there. I'm using everything.
A jambalaya.
Hey, jambalaya, yeah, absolutely. Cafe de Monde, all that. I mean, come on, man. You get me up in there, it's over.
It's over.
What are those little pastries called that they like there?
They're beignets.
Beignets, yeah, beignets, yeah.
They're donuts.
Yep.
That's what they are.
And
That's
that's
the French word for donut.
Cafe du Monde does is the beignets and the coffee.
Yep.
He's a college professor.
I was just there.
We fight with all three of you. We actually have some kind of a rivalry or some beef with every last one of you, and you have a beef with us. So, and
Yeah.
I hate the Saints.
and we hate you. You know that. We hate the Falcons.
I think
The Saints fans like legitimately just hate me too.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Well, okay, I'm the only Saint fan that don't hate you. You know that. I get along with you. You and I are fine.
Well, you and
We're
Burnos
cool
and
personally. But I'm cool with some Falcons fans personally. I'm cool with quite a few Falcons fans personally. And then there's a couple of them that I probably would be bashing the head if I had a shot.
Oh yeah.
I ain't gonna even lie.
It's okay. I would be bashing in the head if I had a shot.
No, really, I'm telling the truth. I will bash your heads into the concrete. I'm not
No,
even gonna lie.
absolutely. To the white meat shows.
All right, hey, Gene, give us what's happening in Tampa Bay, if any.
Hot mess. Hot mess. And where do I start? I start with the coaching and the fact that Lovie Smith let Joe McCoy get out on the field after he got injured against Denver. He should have been sitting on the sidelines. They should have shut him down. I don't know why he was playing, and then he messes around and gets re-injured in the Carolina game, and then the light bulb comes on. Oh, maybe we need to put him away for next year. Come on, man, really? And then I'm looking at our no sense of urgency. We're two scores separate us from winning the game against Carolina. And you know what? They're walking up to the huddle. 3 minutes left. You're walking up to the huddle and you're not doing anything. And then when you get up to the huddle, you don't do anything. You know, they're not running an offense like, oh man, we got to score and we got to try to get the ball back. And part of that is coaching, and part of that is because we have an incompetent quarterback. So it's a two-tiered thing. And all the penalties that we've gotten all year, it's coachable. But at the end of the day, the players have to get out and execute. So, you know, right now, what the Buccaneers need to do is shut down all these starters and evaluate, because we're mathematically eliminated from the playoff contention. We need to evaluate all these players and decide who we're going to get rid of for next season. Because I look at Glennon and I look at McCown, and neither one of them deserve to start anywhere, not even on an AFL team or something like that. They just don't start anywhere.
And honestly, you'd be better served throwing the last couple games anyway.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I don't talk like that, but I see what you're saying. I think that wherever we end up at, you know, it's cool because, you know, they should be out there, you know, trying to win the game. They should be running plays. Because that's what the NFL is all about.
I'm not saying that the players shouldn't try. I'm saying that you shouldn't put your best players out there.
Right.
Right. Yeah. If you don't have to, because that's where injuries occur.
Yeah,
in
you're
a non-meaningful game.
And like you said, it's about evaluation at this point.
Should have never happened.
Well, because who you're playing this week?
The Green Bay Packers.
Okay, so they're fighting for first place in the conference.
Oh,
The
most
Saints,
definitely.
Yeah, and if the Saints beat Atlanta, the Saints are still fighting for a division title. So basically,
Right.
you got two teams going to be out for blood trying to win.
Oh, absolutely.
And they just
Well, Dan,
lost.
you could be risking some players. You could be risking some players that might. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, my thing is we've got players that we've, brought up, and we want to see what they've got, and I think that's what Lovie Smith should be doing right now.
I agree.
He should be working on getting rid of the problems with penalties, and it's frustrating just to watch all this go down because this team is better than what you guys have seen. I know that there was one game we did get blown out by Atlanta, but for the most part, there have been a lot of games that have been decided by six or less points.
Yeah,
and we've been in a lot of these games, and it's just frustrating that it's whether it's coaching or poor time management or whatever happens, a stupid penalty. All these things, go back to execution of plays. So what I've seen, based on going back and watching some of these games, is they're not executing. And that's just frustrating for me, knowing that these are professionals. They've gotten paid a lot of money, and they're not playing up to what their abilities are.
Let me speak on what Scott was saying about if it's in your best interest to not win. This is what I tell certain Carolina Panther fans when we couldn't find a way to win a game for a long time, is you're not throwing the season when you're trying and still losing.
Right.
You don't have to try. You have to try to throw the season.
Pretty much.
Exactly.
So I guess.
What I'm saying.
And one more point I do want to make. Everybody is talking about all these draft picks. The Buccaneers have to go out and draft these players, and they have to be good players, and the players have to fit. Yeah, I know a lot of Buccaneers fans are excited about all these draft picks, but if you have to get players that fit in your system, you can't go out and draft a whole bunch of busts because you're no better off than you were the season before.
No.
Yeah, but if they go out and they get, Marcus Mariota and Cam Irving in the first 2 rounds, that's a huge help for that offense.
I'm not a big Mariota fan. The fact that he's never taken a snap under center. No, he's never taken a snap under center. He doesn't call his own plays, and the Oregon offense was made for him. It wasn't like
call their own plays. 30 NFL quarterbacks don't call their own plays. There's only 2 that I know of that call their own plays.
But I see a lot of quarterbacks that do audible out of plays.
They audible out of plays, but they don't call their own plays.
Well, they do. Well, here, actually, there are certain times where quarterbacks will have a larger role in that, particularly the 2-minute drill. Yep. What you've done is you've kind of pre-orchestrated those concepts into the quarterback. So you temporarily make him an offensive coordinator for that 2 minutes, I would think. And you are able to take him off and override him as a coach. But wouldn't it take a lot of time? I think that's kind of the essence of the offense in Philadelphia right now is you're trying to, eliminate the communication time.
Well, their thing is speed. I mean, they basically get to the line of scrimmage as quick as possible.
They want volume plays. They want plays.
Right, and that's where Mariota would fit in that offense ideally because of how they run.
There's
a good chance that might actually happen.
That's what we were talking about earlier when we were talking about Nick Foles being part of a package deal to Tampa, so that Tampa would trade the first pick to Philly. And
it would make sense.
Yeah, Foles, because supposedly there's a rift between Kelly and Foles.
But Kelly seems to have a rift with a lot of folks on that team. I mean, why you think Sean Jackson is out there?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's Kelly's team. He can do what he wants, but you know what I'm saying. At the same time, it's not like this story hasn't been. It shouldn't be no surprise that Kelly has issues with another player.
Right.
It's probably a lot of players that don't necessarily like him. But that's most coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of coaches. I mean, you could think Jim Harbaugh. You could think, Bill Belichick. There's a lot of guys that probably don't like Bill Belichick.
I know I'm one.
I ain't gonna have no arguments with Belichick. That dude can coach, so I ain't got no arguments with him.
No, I just got an issue with cheating. That's it.
You ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Sorry.
All right.
The only cheating is you don't get caught.
In relationship to Chip Kelly, because what you could do is, if you're Philadelphia, you could try to make a move for Cam Newton next year in a contract year, maybe, right? And that would be deadly. You go ahead, like Steve Logan says, you could go ahead and airmail him the trophy to Philadelphia if Cam Newton's good. But the reason I bring up his name is not because I think that that's really, really realistic. But what I'm saying, Joey, is will Cam Newton play? You said he should. You don't think he should. That leaves you with Derek Anderson leading you against the Cleveland Browns, facing Johnny Manziel. How do you feel about that game?
I feel good about our chances in that game. I think Derek Anderson proved that he can play well enough to get a win. He did it against the Bucs.
And that's it.
I think
Hey, this is his old team. I think that he has added motivation to go out there and
play well.
Yeah.
And not only that, I think playing in the game.
Okay, go ahead. Say it.
I was gonna say, I think playing in the game last week, just helps him to be better prepared coming into this week. He's up to game speed. He's been practicing with the first team all week again, and we've seen improved line play. He made a couple of real bad throws last week. Derek Anderson did. He really missed some open guys. Kind of cost us, a touchdown at one point because he one-hopped the ball to somebody that was wide open. It would have been a score. Yes, I'd like Cam to play. If Cam would have played last week, I think the game wouldn't have been as close. A healthy Cam, that is.
I agree.
But I think to protect Cam short term and long term, don't play him. Don't give him a chance to take a shot on that, in the back.
And Cam hasn't been healthy all season. That surgery surprised me at the beginning of the season, and he never got to the Cam Newton that we've seen in the past. So.
He was just getting there. He was just starting to get there because against the Vikings, our running game was successful, and then we ran all over the Saints. And Cam had 83 yards in that game.
Yeah,
so
but I just think that they brought him back too soon, to be honest, from the injury that he had, and I worry about that kind of thing long term with a quarterback. And that it just takes one hit or something like that to have him out for the rest of the season. So sure. I don't know. You can second guess any of this, but that's just my observation of it.
No, I think we should just play it safe, err on the side of caution. If we run the ball well enough, you don't have to count on Derek Anderson. I think the one bad thing we did last week was throw the ball 40 times. That was something I would rather have them ran it 40 times.
I wouldn't want to put the ball in his hands 4 times.
I'm not even, Michelle.
Let me tell you this, Joey. They couldn't run it. That was the problem. And without Cam Newton, this offensive line, I don't think can run the ball very well. That's what that's what I think is important. That's why I want to see Cam Newton play. Actually, is because the Cleveland Browns. And maybe Scott can pull this up because I think he's on the computer. What is the Cleveland Browns in rushing defense? They got to be. I don't think they're particularly good at that.
They really aren't. Let's see. They are 31st in the league in terms of total yards, and in terms of yards per carry, they're 28th.
What about on defense, rushing defense?
That is their rushing defense.
Yeah, that's the defense. So being able to run the ball, is important against the Cleveland Browns.
What about passing defense?
It's probably like number 2.
Right, because they're good on the back end.
Not that high.
Huh?
Their passing defense is 7th.
Okay, that's pretty good.
So the reason I asked that is that if they can concentrate and slow down that run and force you to pass, I think you that shifts it to the favor of Cleveland, in my opinion.
Well,
Yeah,
I have a question. I have a question for the Carolina faithful here. How do you defend a Johnny Manziel? Because he is mobile. He'll see if his first option isn't available, he'll run, and that's normally what you see. Do you put a spy on him, or what do you do to
I
stop
think
that?
I
Stop
think
that
you
run?
maintain your lane discipline when you're rushing the quarterback. I think that's the first thing you do. You have to stay in your lanes. You gotta understand that he is a threat to run. But I think one of the things you do is try to disguise your coverages, and make him struggle with trying to decide where to go. He said today, I was listening to an interview, he said he second guessed himself a lot last week.
Yeah.
Like he'd see one thing and he would want to throw the ball, but then he'd say, is this the right throw? And he said he's just got to go with that initial instinct, see it, leave it.
Yeah.
What he-
Well, no, because even the little bit of highlights I saw, you can see the second guessing. You can tell when a quarterback. You can
It's
tell
hesitating.
because generally.
Well, that's because he don't have Mike Evans.
That ball out, and he didn't do that. He was so worried about that he was going to make a mistake that he did make a.
Several of them.
Yeah, huge mistakes.
Yes.
He
Yeah,
does
very
have
constant.
Josh Gordon, though. He does have Josh Gordon, who is better than Mike Evans. So you've got to be careful about him because he's kind of like a wounded animal right now.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny is that he could really. He would take advantage of something like this. This is how these types of players do it, is they look for moments. His back is against the wall. I think another thing, Joey, is Ken mentioned this to me, and this will go to what Gene was asking, is somebody said that I think it was, he struggled against Cincinnati, right? That they tried to prevent him from running to his left.
Right.
They said whatever they were going to do is they're going to keep him from running to his left. And I don't know what that is, but Ken was telling me about it. So maybe that's something what you do is maybe you find something kind of a way to minimize what his ability is on the ground just by his own internal weaknesses rather than what you do specifically or your players one-on-one against them.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what Cincy did. Because I didn't really pay close attention. I didn't really see the game. I saw a couple of highlights. The only thing I can think of is what you bring the defensive ends a little bit out, kind of like a wide nine type of defense, where he got the edges, so he don't, you know what I mean? So he'll think twice about trying to go towards the defensive ends or something like that, maybe.
Right.
I don't know for sure. But that's just kind of like off the top of my head. If that's the case of what you're talking about.
That's why I think we need Cam Newton as our quarterback in this game, Joey, is that he doesn't even have to run. Is that he just needs to have our game is strengthened by just having those defensive ends not be able to come screaming around the corners because they got to worry about maintaining that discipline. So I'm for Cam Newton playing. I think he is better than Derek Anderson.
How healthy is he? How healthy is he?
I think he's like 75%, probably 80%.
I just don't think it's worth the risk. If this was like to get to the playoffs, if this was the game that decides whether or not you go to the playoffs, then yes, play him. But we still need help, and we still have another game to play. Against Atlanta, which could be for us to get to the playoffs.
Because all it takes is one good hit. If he gets popped a couple, at least one good time, that's his season's done.
Right. That's why I think give him another week off. Give him another week to try to heal. Whatever they can do. I don't.
And if they hit him from behind, they catch him on the blind side. That ain't gonna. That's gonna. Every heart in Carolina's gonna stop.
Right.
Scott, I want to ask Scott: will it matter when the Carolina Panthers play the Atlanta Falcons? Will that game matter?
It all depends on what happens with the Falcons and the Saints.
Yep.
What's your gut?
That's what it comes down to.
My gut is that Atlanta wins. It's been wrong before, so.
I like that.
It could just be, some of the food I ate earlier.
Or it could be gas.
Yeah,
I will
it's got to be gas.
The way Johnny Manziel gets stopped, you have to watch the LSU film on him. Because they did the best that any team did against him. And it wasn't because they had their ends split out extra wide or extra short. They all maintained their depth and maintained their contain the way they were supposed to. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, and they still rushed, but they maintained and rushed at the same time. It takes a lot of talent from a defensive end to know that technique.
Right. Agreed. But I mean, that's the question. That is like, will they have that talent, or will they be able to actually do that without having to do that, without having to stretch out?
They've got it on his sight side in Charles Johnson.
Yeah,
that's
pretty strong.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know
and he's really been coming on.
But
Charles Johnson has been coming on.
One of my favorites. He's definitely been coming on lately.
Yes.
Now, I will say that I think that they need to rest Cam Newton. Yeah. I think they should put him on injury reserve, honestly. Because I don't think any spinal injury is a minor spinal injury.
No, it's not.
This isn't a big deal. This is it's like the bumper to your spine. Like that's what it's there for, to do this.
It's still a spinal injury. And it's still
well, it's not. It's
on the lower back, but it's a lot lower.
It's a bone injury, truthfully.
Yeah.
It's a bone injury. It's not. It is along your spine, yes, but it's an injury to the bone.
3 weeks left says put him on injury reserve. And I'm not saying that because I don't want to see him face Atlanta. I honestly want to see Cam against Atlanta because I love beating the best. Again, Ric Flair strategy. In order to be the best, you have to beat the best.
Absolutely. To be the man, you got to beat the man.
I would rather see Cam Newton start for them. However, for Cam Newton's health and safety, I don't think he should be playing. Period.
Yeah, I'm kind of like with Scott on that. That's like I said, especially not this week. I would not play on this week. But don't get me wrong, you're definitely gambling because Derek Anderson, he had a good game against Tampa. We don't know what he's going to do against Cleveland. That's a different animal. And I think, but if you risk putting Cam out there and he gets hit, or because he's gonna have to, his instinct is to run the ball at times too. He's gonna do it anyway. If he's out on the field, he's gonna risk running the ball. He's just gonna do it because it's the football player in him. And that's what
If he doesn't run the ball, he's got Byron Bell as his left tackle, so he's just gonna get murdered.
Well, then why would you put him out there? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Why would you put him out there? If I thought I had a fortress there, then that's a different story. But if you really think if you feel that you got a 50-50 risk of him getting hurt worse or crippled or anything,
all right,
why would you put him out there?
You're making my ears bleed, Greg. Stop it. I don't want to hear this cripple talk.
Well, that's your spine, man. I'm telling you, I get it as a bone, but I'm telling you now, when you telling me something like that, that scares the heck out of me. I get like that anyway.
And I'm gonna touch on this too against the Browns and against the Falcons. Now, any one of their defensive players is running to the sideline with Cam. And it's close, and they know that if it is a late hit, it's only 15 yards. Exactly. And it could potentially take Cam out of the game.
Yeah.
I think they're going to take that shot.
All day long. Absolutely. Right. I'm sorry, but they're going to do it.
And I'm not saying anybody on either team is dirty. I'm just saying.
It's not being dirty, but it's a competition thing. It's close.
Right. Exactly.
You're gonna clean his clock if you can.
Right. And that's.
Especially if you put him on that blind side when he ain't looking, you can get a hit on him, clean shot.
That's what worries me the most.
I guess you might be talking me into it because the fact of the matter is we really shouldn't. It's such a backdoor to the playoffs based on a game that's occurring at that same time. So I want to ask Greg about the upcoming game, but I want to. Scott said that his gut said Atlanta wins this game. It could be bad gefilte fish.
Gefilte fish.
Or
Let's put it this way.
Shabbat.
No real Jew eats gefilte fish. It's something that we made. It's like our how do I put this? It's like our bull testicle that we like get to and we're like, yeah, go ahead and try this. This is
Rocky Mountain
great.
Monsters?
And we're just straight up like bullshitting you the entire time. We're like, yeah, this is great. Try it. When you look at our plates, you don't see anything but like potato latkes and like a drunken roast and like applesauce, and then we're giving you this gefilte fish, and you're just like.
And people fall for it. That's what's so bad. People fall for it.
People go for it every time. That's why we do it. That's why it's absolutely hilarious to us. Like, I've never understood how anybody can eat things like gefilte fish and be like, oh my god, that's amazing. But like if I'm going to be nice to a Christian guy, I'm going to be like, you know what, try some matzo ball soup, try some potato latkes with some cinnamon applesauce. Like, that's the good kind of Jewish food.
Is that like a knish?
What?
The potato latkes?
It's fried potato pancakes. That's all.
What
like,
All you're missing is some bacon.
A knish is like a potato cake.
Yeah,
knish is like a potato cake. It's like our version of a hash brown / quiche.
Okay.
Yeah, and all you need is some bacon and give me some salt and pepper and some grits.
And
you got a meal.
And for Italians, we make potato croquettes. That's our kind of version on our spin on that. All right, so Greg.
Yes.
When you go over to Scott's house and he eats the potato, say it again, potato latke?
Yeah, latke.
Latke. And he hands you the gefilte fish as his guest. Does your stomach? What does your gut say about this matchup?
Do you have hot sauce?
My gut says I hope Saints win if you're gonna feed me this.
Hey, hot sauce will cover a multitude of sins.
Yeah.
People don't tend to like hot sauce, man.
Bring some hot sauce. Bring some of that Louisiana hot sauce with you. You'll be good, man.
I mean, I'm sure you could burn the roof of your mouth to where you don't even taste it anymore.
Probably.
Yeah, let me
the worst tasting stuff in the world, man. I would never. Let's put it this way: if I didn't like you, I would be like, man, here you go. I would never do that to Greg.
So you've tried it.
I grew up in a Jewish household. Of course I did.
Hot sauce wouldn't help it then.
You know what, Joe? That means
I ain't never had no fish that hot sauce didn't help.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, fried fish. Yeah, I agree.
It's not fried; it's stuffed, ain't it?
No, it's like
baked. It's like pickled, right?
Out and you make these little cakes out of it, and you throw it in like this weird jelly sauce. It's awful.
Ugh.
It's like some salmon croquettes.
Fish
I
jelly.
want to try it.
Like
I want to try it.
Balls that you don't even want to try.
I'm sitting here. I googled Jewish cuisine while we were. But that's how this got started. Greg, what are your thoughts on the matchup? How do you guys feel? You said that was something you brought up early in the show. Is that this is kind of the make it or break it for you guys?
Well, I mean, as simple as that, it is. I mean, like I said, who loses is pretty much out. I mean, that's how we have to look at it to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
We have to look at it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And basically Carolina's future rides on that too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because if New Orleans wins, that really kind of helps us out a lot.
Yes.
And it hurts you.
Yes.
So, but I mean, for myself, I'm not as worried about the 4-game losing streak. You had the 4-game losing streak in the past. Just at this point, you got to think about what you do now. I mean, I like the moves that Sean Payton did make. As far as he did make a lot of moves on defense, and I thought he did. I mean, in the defense play, definitely very solid and pretty well. You know, I mean, you think about it. They pretty much put Patrick Robinson in the dime position. Kenny Vaccaro was a nickel. They got Terrence Frederick playing the other corner, and he actually played pretty decent in that game.
Who was number 42?
Huh? That's Pierre Warren. Pierre Warren. Pierre Warren started the strength count. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. His story. He started with the Saints in the preseason. He was actually in the training camp and everything, and was making plays and doing very well. The problem was that our safety position was so loaded with Bird, Ball. We also had Vaccaro. You also had Vincent Seri and even Raphael Bush. And then he ended up kind of numbers game got cut, and they got put on the practice squad. And then they ended up cutting him again, I think, because they were making some moves, a couple of injuries and stuff like that. So he ended up getting cut and went to Minnesota, and he was on their practice squad. And when Bird and when Bush got hurt, they actually signed him off of Minnesota's practice squad and brought him back because he knew the defense. And he was a playmaker, so I was comfortable having him back there as a free safety because I knew he knew the defense and he was a playmaker. So, and he actually you could tell he's getting definitely settled in the position. Terrence Frederick, the other cornerback, he was another one off the practice squad that they brought out, and Payton said, "Screw it." He said, "My other two cornerbacks who are not playing any ball," so he put him in. So I mean, and he actually played pretty solid, I thought, against Chicago. He didn't give up passes and give up plays that I saw Patrick Robinson give up in the game. And I mean, Junior Gillette, they basically played part-time in that game. He actually played more than you'd think. But for the most part, they started Humber and they started Hawthorne, and Hawthorne played out of his mind. Like I said yesterday, I thought the dude played like he was Lawrence Taylor because he with 3 sacks in that game. He was pulling that Lawrence Taylor out of him, and he did very well. And even Gillette on a bad knee still played well and got 2 sacks. So
yeah, the Bears' offensive line is atrocious.
It is,
and I'm not discrediting the Saints
exactly right. I mean,
in any way.
but they did what they're supposed to do because let me tell you now, if they only got 1 sack in that game against that line, then there's a huge problem.
Yeah,
real big problem.
Atlanta's offensive line has really, honestly, become a lot better the last 7 games.
Yep, but
they've allowed 7 sacks from the offensive line itself. Has only allowed 7 sacks over the past 7 games.
Well, he might get 7. He might get sacked. We might make that up for you. We're gonna try to make that up for you.
I've been watching some of the Atlanta games on NFL Rewind. I watched like 2 of them over the season, and they have gotten better. The offensive line, they've improved. They've got some players. They've got some players that have gotten healthy at the right time, and they are falling into place right now, and they're actually doing their job,
Well, the big thing is Jake Matthews got healthy, and then Ryan Schrader is just as good of an athlete as Matthews is. He just hadn't played football until he was like 22 years old, because before then he was 5'11". So he finally gets to play football, and then now he's an Atlanta Falcon starting right tackle, and he looks like a skinny version of Tyson Clabo. He looks really good right now. Let's put it this way. The Carolina Panthers would love to have Ryan Schrader right now on their offensive line.
All right, we'll take him.
Yeah, they ain't getting him. Atlanta still has him on an undrafted rookie contract. They ain't getting rid of him at all. They got a cheap start.
Overall, I thought, but I would say, the moves that Payton made, I think, helped, and it kind of shook the things in place. I mean, even on offense, he made a couple of moves because I think he started Toon over Colston. But Colston made plays in that game, too. He did very well. Even Toon made some plays. One mistake. But other than that, I mean, I think they're going to be focused and ready for Atlanta. I don't think they're going to sleepwalk like they did against Carolina and against Cincinnati.
Well, I think this really is a great point to begin the matchup, the upcoming matchup talk. I think this probably is the most important game, this Falcons Saints game. So yeah, let's just march right into that. What do you guys see taking place in this matchup?
Well, as I told Scott yesterday, he was talking about that Breeze probably will throw an interception before Ryan does, but I disagree. I think Matt Ryan will throw an interception before Drew Brees. I think the Saints win this game, 38-35. Pretty much 3 points separates this team every game almost. So I feel like I'm safe as far as the point margin. Now, it's funny, Vegas, I was telling him, Vegas had us at 6.5. We were favorites 6.5 by 6.5, which was a little big to me.
Yeah, it'll shrink come Sunday.
Yeah,
it'll shrink.
Well, a lot of it does depend, because if you think about it, Julio Jones does not play. If he turns around and does not play in this game, that's gonna make that spread a lot bigger. And
Yes,
it does change the dynamics of the game. It's a big difference. It's easier on the Saints in that sense. But I think Julio plays. I think that's why he sat out of Pittsburgh, so that they make sure he was ready for New Orleans.
Did he play week 1?
Who? Julio? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He did
put
play?
up 115 yards or something like that.
Yeah, he had a big day. He had a big day.
Yeah, I got a boatload of fantasy points on that game.
Yeah, he had a big game in that one. He did.
Okay. Harry Douglas had a big game last week.
Hey, I do have a Saints question. What do you think of Rob Ryan, and do you think that the players are finally falling in his scheme? Do you think that they're improving, or they're kind of getting it now?
I don't know. I don't think it's a problem with. I don't know if it's a problem with they have trouble with his scheme. A lot of it's just basic coachable stuff to me. Like Scott could tell you, the run fits. Just basic tackling.
Awful.
If they tackle half as good as they should have tackled. And then just like I said, the run fits and just basic stuff that they shouldn't know. That's the problem. It ain't nearly as much to me. Rob Ryan is the issue. Now, don't get me wrong. I got a couple of assistants that I would love to see him get rid of, one way or another. But
because I've even read that Rob Ryan and Peyton don't really.
Yeah, everybody's read that. Yeah, everybody's read that. But they say that they get along. I don't know if they do or not. So I have no other idea, because Peyton is
winning covers a multitude of sins.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it does. Agreed. We are talking about Ryan too. If anybody know the history of the Ryans, you know what I mean. The Ryans don't get along with a lot of folks, for the most part. They're like, but they can be hateable too.
Abrasive.
I think that's probably a good term for their relationship. They have an abrasive relationship.
Yeah, and but everybody Peyton gets on everybody's ass. There are players on the team that said the same thing. That half the time, if they make a mistake, they try to go to another way or the other end, try to get away from Peyton, because they know that he's about to come after him. It's and he's supposed to be like mama, in a sense of dad. If you screw up, he's gonna be waiting on you. He's supposed to be. So just because he yells at the defense coordinator, and he may not be necessarily yelling at Ryan for what Ryan's doing. He might be yelling at the player for making a stupid mistake, but he's just taking it out on Ryan. So sometimes I think some of that stuff is overblown. But some people look at a simple straight line on things and not really looking at where, really what could be the case. Because nobody knows what they're saying. They just look at the yelling.
And in the heat of the moment, when there's all this pressure on these guys, so much pressure.
I agree, but let's say it like this: I would be pissed at Peyton if he wasn't yelling at Ryan or yelling at a player, right? Because then he's basically in the slide.
But he's making Rob Ryan look like a damn fool, though.
But let's say it like this: if Peyton is not walking with his foot up, hopping on one leg with his foot up somebody's ass on that sideline for making a mistake, there's a problem.
Man, that's like the opposite of what we got, Joe. All right, we got Greg taking the Saints. Scott, how do you feel about this?
Absolutely.
Again, I might sound like a homer here, but I don't see the Saints stopping the run.
You are a homer. Cut that crap out.
Even with Steven Jackson being geriatric Steven Jackson, even with Jacquizz Rodgers having one of his worst years as a running back, even with Devontae Freeman being a rookie, I still don't see the Saints stopping the run against the Atlanta Falcons. And that's where I think it comes down to.
That's fine.
Atlanta's going to have a balanced attack, And I don't know if the Saints, because Atlanta's run defense has really cleaned up since that first game this year.
We'll
They
see.
have a lot better run fits. Their tackling is a lot sounder, even though it was already pretty good. It's a lot better than it was, because William Moore is not in the backfield. It's Kamal Ishmael instead, and Kamal Ishmael may not have the pop, but he takes you down. I think Atlanta ends up winning this one. I'm going to say 45-42. I still think it's a shootout.
All right, I said 30,
Atlanta still has 0 pass
38,
rush.
35 is fine.
What's the over-under? Anybody know?
I don't know what the over-under is.
I don't know, but if it was 3 digits, it wouldn't surprise me.
No, not at all.
106.
Not at all. Because, I mean, you got two basic, I mean, they're pretty low-ranked defenses in areas.
Right.
So, I mean, what do you do?
You got the worst pass defense in the league and the second worst pass defense in the league. And then 2 of the worst pass rushing teams in the league going against each other with offensive lines that are kind of getting it together. So I see a shootout. I see both quarterbacks going over 400 yards, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah. I
mean, those are two teams that can happen with.
Slanging going on. There's definitely going to be some slanging going on. You can bet the house on that.
I think both guys get over 400 yards very easily.
Yep. I agree.
They're going to have 40-something attempts, maybe even 50-something attempts, each one of them.
Yeah, because...
Yeah. And if Julio is healthy, I could see him putting up 200 yards.
Julio won't be healthy. He'll be in better shape, but he won't be healthy. I promise you that. Julio will not be 100%. He will not be 100%. You know that.
Joey.
He'll be up enough to play. That's the thing. I told him a big key for me is if the Saints can hold Julio to under 100 yards, if we hold him about 75, 80 yards and catches, the Saints win that game. Because
I don't see any way you hold him under 100 yards.
They hold him under 100. I'm telling you, they can do it. They will hold him under 100.
Okay, so Joey, this is what we got here. Is we got Scott, who don't like hot sauce, is calling for a sweep of
Ain't happening.
New Orleans Saints. The
Yes.
New Orleans Saints, the sweep. He's calling for the sweep. And we also learned that when you come out of the confessional booth, you can say, go forth and sin no more unless you've got some hot sauce to cover up. Joey, who you got in this game, the Atlanta Falcons or the New Orleans Saints?
I definitely want Atlanta to win this game for obvious reasons. I see it being a 3-point game. I guess I don't have any other. I mean, if you look at the first game they played, that week 1 matchup, it was a shootout. It was points everywhere, ball up and down the field.
Wasn't even over.
70 points in the game or some craziness.
Right. So I mean, you gotta. It seems like that's a tradition with these teams. So yeah, I mean, I expect points to go.
It was like 90 points, wasn't it? Didn't they get like in the 40? Scott,
37-34 was the score.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
37-30.
37-34.
So yeah, I guess it is going to be a shootout, and I am pulling for Atlanta for obvious reasons. So I'm going to say the Falcons win this one. Saints lose their 5th in a row at home, and the Panthers have a chance to take the division lead.
I'm going to turn it over to Gene because I'm taking the Saints because Joey just taught me basically made no sense there. 5 in a row, a sweep. I mean, it makes plenty of sense. I'm glad you're cheering for it, Joey. I'm cheering for it as well. But gosh, can this really continue like this? 5 games in a row? That would be insane. Gene, I'm going to take the Saints. Who you got in this game?
It's going to be a track race. You got to get your running shoes out and pay attention to every play because it could be a score. I'm taking 35-28 for the Saints. Drew Brees ain't going to let this happen. He ain't going to let this happen. And, no matter what, what anybody says, this is a sweep right here. And, this is a prideful team. I just don't see them letting this happen. Peyton ain't going to let this happen. So I see the Saints winning this game.
While you're on the mic, go ahead and tell us who you would take in Cleveland at Carolina. The point spread right now is 3.5 home favorites for Carolina, so it is a pick 'em essentially.
All right. I'm taking Carolina to win that game, 21-17. Uh,
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be a close game, but I think that Carolina will pull this out, the running game.
I like that idea of 3 times in the end zone, Joey. How do you who are you going to take? Carolina hosting Cleveland Browns. Johnny Manziel coming to town. Football Johnny.
Well, I think our defense has really played well the last few weeks. It's stepped up and started to look more like that defensive unit from last season. We've put the young guys in the secondary, and they've responded tremendously. And I think it's helped out our pass rush as well. So I'm going to rely on our defense to really get to Manziel, to really put the onus of getting, making him throw the ball before he wants to, us getting a couple turnovers. So I see us winning the game somewhere in the neighborhood of 24-13, 24-10, somewhere in that area. And DA, I expect him to have a good week this week.
I like that. Right now, everything that I've been throwing out, we had the C3 podcast, which is on Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. And the name of of this week's show was Money Manziel Meet Big Money. And you're about to meet Big Money Charles Johnson, who has just been on fire for 6 weeks. I like the Carolina Panthers big against Tampa Bay. 27-14 is where I'm coming from on that. So I'm going to take the Carolina Panthers in that. Scott, who do you got? Do you like Money Manziel, Johnny Football, that storyline, or the Carolina Panthers on a 3-game winning streak?
I think it's more likely that the Carolina Panthers lose this week. I think Johnny Manziel kind of realized sometimes a player needs to get smacked around a bit before he finally gets things going. And I think Johnny Manziel got smacked around a bit this past week, and I think he's going to, like you were saying earlier in the show, wounded animal syndrome.
Yeah.
I think you're going to have that wounded animal that bites right straight through your flesh and makes you lose. Because Johnny Manziel, he's going to figure out the YOLO balls with Josh Gordon. I think you're going to have a tough time stopping Gordon. I will say this, since you started your best possible cornerbacks, your defense has looked ridiculously better. Which I did say that your best cornerbacks were not Tom Jason. And what was the other guy?
Ben Wickery.
No, not Ben
No,
Wickery.
Kason and
There was another guy you guys were starting.
Melvin
Charles
White.
Godfrey.
Melvin White.
Oh, Charles Godfrey.
Melvin White.
One of those.
But he was a nickel, yeah.
I did say
Godfrey
Josh
was-
Foreman and Ben Wickery were your best by far.
You were right. You were right.
And-
And you know what is we just this is what Scott told us at the beginning of the season, and we got to give him his due on this. He said Roman, and also Greg said this too. Roman Harper, kind of garbage. He's been better as of late, so he might have been holding it towards the end and just trying to survive. But they also said that Thomas Deku was garbage. That turned out true. And they were very, very critical of Antoine Cason. And you put Josh Norman in there, we're going to get to see another test for the young quarterback, Joey, against Gordon. But I think Scott's got onto something. I won't say onto something that, I mean, you never know when you got a player that's used to winning what they'll do. Greg, who do you got in this game?
I'm kind of with Scott in the sense of you got a player who basically he kind of came in the league. He kind of talked a little smack. He got smacked around. That it's going to be interesting to see whether that beatdown or not really gets him like focused now because he understands now that he really got to study and to really do this game, to learn the game. I think Manziel pulls one out. I think it's going to be a close game because I think with the fact that you got Derek Anderson quarterbacking, I think that helps Cleveland in a sense. If Cam Newton was quarterback in this game, I think I would say I would almost go Carolina running away. But I think in this one right here with Derek Anderson, I don't have a lot of trust in Derek Anderson as overall. So I'm going with Manziel in this one. I think Cleveland wins by a field goal, like 19-16, something like that.
I like I like that we're gonna get to relish in this victory because we got to see Josh Norman against Josh Gordon. I think that's going to be a fun matchup to see because what we want to see is something that we're kind of, Desmond Trufant. I've been watching some of his play, and Scott's been saying this all season, and nobody has contested it either. Is he's turning into a player already. So we'd like to see Josh Norman become a guy that is on that level, or kind of working their way into the top tier. And if you can stop Josh Gordon, you stopped some other big receivers this season, or played well against them. So, that would be a good sign.
He'll ever be on that level. I don't. I like him, but I think the more likely guy to be on that level is Ben Wickery.
Yeah.
And I think Ben Wickery is going to be more of that Grimes type where he may allow 1 or 2 deep balls all year, but he's going to be mainly a guy who gets like 5 or 6 picks. That's Ben Wickery. And I think that's going to be...
He had 14 picks in his college career.
Yeah, so I think he's got already this year, 3 or 4.
Yeah, he's got a nose for the ball.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear about that guy from Pittsburgh who has had 3 picks this season and they're all for
returns? Yeah.
Yeah. How awesome is that? All right, Greg, jump in and take us. Greg, lead us, and we'll go back down the line. Green Bay at Tampa. This has got to be an easy one to call.
Yeah, Green Bay.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, the fact you run into the situation that they're fighting for that number 1 spot at this point, and they lost one to Buffalo that they probably figured that they should have won.
To a highly talented Buffalo defense.
That
defense is good.
Well, the thing about it is that Buffalo defense, that whole team has been. I've been thinking the team was going to make the playoffs like 2-3 years ago because the team always had the talent to me. They just, Marone has finally brought them around and done very well, especially when he pulled out E.J. Manuel because I thought he crashed anyway. He shouldn't have been drafted, especially not that high. So that was a huge mistake on their part. But I'm glad he corrected it. He was a journeyman, but he's still Kyle Orton's playing well at this point. You keep him in there. So, but anyway, Green Bay lost a game that they probably thought that they shouldn't have lost. I think they'll come out with a little fire on them. Number 2, the fact that you're missing Gerald McCoy in that middle to kind of attack after him, that's like your best lineman against Green Bay. I don't even like the prospect of the fact that you're pretty much your best defensive player is not there for the rest of the year.
Scott, who you got? I mean, it's pretty clear, right?
Like I said before, Tampa Bay should say, this guy's got a sprained ankle. We're sitting him out. This guy's got a sprained toe. He's out. This guy's got a sprained pinky finger. He's out. This guy's got a...
And it would all be true.
Like, you're going to be valuable next year. Mike Evans said, this guy said, put their worst talent out there and say, try and win, guys.
Yeah,
we're evaluating. We're evaluating. All right.
We're evaluating a 53-0 loss.
Right.
Man, look at Scott settling the books.
They do not have the offense to keep up. They don't have the offense to keep up. They don't have a quarterback who can go deep.
Not at all. Not even close.
Who can do anything, really. And their running game is just not really there right now.
No.
Sorry, Gene.
Yeah, I'm taking the Packers, Joey. Also, I'm going to turn it over to you, but Justin Merkwa, one of the great fans of the show, he's in and participating in all the discussions on C3. He noted today that Jimmy Clausen is starting for Chicago over quarterback Jay Cutler.
Yes, he is.
Quarterback officially done. Joey, Jay Cutler, I hate that dude now. And who do you got in the Packers in Tampa? Is it a question?
It is the Bay of Pigs.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Yes, it is. Old school Bay of Pigs.
Yes, it is. Old school Bay of Pigs.
Yes.
And I mean, Aaron Rodgers coming off a loss. I think he's going to play with he's going to play mean as a quarterback can play. He's going to be looking for blood. And unfortunately, Tampa is in the way of this buzzsaw that will be coming Sunday. And I don't think it's close. I think I really think it is a good opportunity for Tampa to do some evaluating, and I hope they do.
Yeah.
All right. Gene, close us out for the picks, and then we're going to go ahead and give our plugs. So once you close your pick out, go ahead and plug you and see how people can get after you.
All right. Hey, once again, just like Joey was mentioning, I really do hope they get the players out there to just evaluate how they do against a top tier team and see what players are worth keeping for next year. Quarterback position, just as it was mentioned before, we don't have a quarterback. We did the experiment with a career backup and it failed. We did the experiment with career backup offensive lineman and it failed miserably as well. So hopefully this is a learning experience that won't happen again. But this game, I don't even want to call the score on it. I'm a fan, love my team, but this I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. But
yeah.
Right.
So that's the Packers. That's the Packers in a landslide right there. Gene, what's your favorite hot sauce, and where can people find you?
Louisiana hot sauce is what I go for, and works good with everything: grits, eggs, fish. And that's why I'm wanting to try this Cavilta fish and see if I can try to hook this up here and see what happens. But you can get me at. Hey, I'm willing to try anything once, so I'm gonna give it a try.
All it's gonna take. Try it once, and then you'll get
You only tried it once.
again.
Okay, you can get me a super heavyweight on Twitter. You can get me a super heavyweight on Twitter. And you follow me, I'll follow you back. I love talking football. It just doesn't have to be Bucs, but I like football of any kind. Once again, NFC South, we're all brothers in losing this year. And this is one of the seasons that I can actually feel sympathetic for everybody out there. I am pulling for Carolina because I do like Ron Rivera. And I think that's a good story with how an organization is stuck with a coach and really done, they haven't provided him with the talent, but they've stuck with him to get that system in place. So I am pulling for Ron Rivera.
Nice.
Joey, what's your favorite hot sauce, and how can people get after you?
My favorite hot sauce is good old Texas Pete.
Okay.
And you can get at me at Joe Riolano.
Between 10 and 11 or 11?
Only between 10 and 11. And I do want to say, check us out for any ticket needs, guys. Come to our site, CarolinaCatChronicles.com. We have a link to Ticket Monster where you can get anything you need, football tickets, baseball, entertainment, whatever you need tickets for, they can provide it for you. They have no fees and free delivery. So make sure you take advantage of that.
All right. Scott, not a hot sauce fan. What's your favorite condiment then?
I'm pretty basic, man. I like ketchup
Mayonnaise?
or barbecue sauce.
Barbecue sauce.
Nothing.
You don't like
is
mayonnaise?
only
Oh, man.
Mayonnaise is only good when you put it on a sub if you got a very light amount, and that's it. I'm a barbecue sauce fan more than anything else because you've got like a million different ways you can do barbecue sauce.
Absolutely.
How about this? Is barbecue a verb or a noun?
It depends on what you're doing.
It's a food group.
It depends on what you're doing, because I mean, it's really a noun because it's like it's what you're making.
Thank you.
Kind of say that you're barbecuing. I say that I'm out smoking stuff.
I bet you do.
Hey, barbecue sauce is a food group. I don't care what anybody says.
Barbecue sauce.
If here's the thing, folks, you can follow Scott Karasik, and you will know if he wants to talk to you or visit with you again if he serves you gefilte fish or not.
That's right.
Because you'll be
That would be
one and
awful.
done.
I need to make like a blocked logo where it's a gefilte fish and it just says blocked on it.
I gave you your one shot. So tell them where they can find your work.
You can find my work at Bleacher Report or on Draft Falcons, and you can find me on Twitter at Scott Karasik, and I will gladly talk to you until you start trolling me, because I just.
And then he'll hit you in the head with the gefilte fish. Greg, what's your favorite hot sauce, and how can people get after you?
Well, I'm gonna say Louisiana is definitely one. There are a couple other ones that are pretty good out there too, but we'll go with Louisiana. And I actually like to use barbecue sauce for my French fries. I actually like to eat my French fries with barbecue sauce instead of ketchup. Believe it or not.
All right.
But anyway,
barbecue sauce, French fries.
Absolutely, that's some good stuff, man. All right, you can get me at IntenseGB, Greg Boar, of course, but at IntenseGB on Twitter. Follow me. I definitely follow back. And like I said, we talk football, basketball, wrestling. Just sometimes just shooting the breeze, you know. So
Talk about the weather.
Ah man,
Yeah,
can we?
absolutely.
I wouldn't mind if we shot breeze. Oh.
Well, we ain't shooting that breeze. You can't hurt breezers. Can't do that.
My name is Tony Dunn, a.k.a. the Professor. My favorite hot sauce depends on the meal. If I'm going Mexican, it is El Yucateca, and it's the green habanero sauce.
Oh.
If I'm eating French fries, what I like to do is, this is for Joey, a little Texas Pete and ranch, and turn them into the poor man chicken wing. That's what that is. That's the poor man's chicken wing. It's French fries that taste like a chicken wing.
I like it. That's a good one.
Everybody's going to be trying that tomorrow.
That's a good one.
I might need to slip out and get some of that tonight.
I know. It sounds good, don't it? I know.
You don't want to spend the $10 for an order of wings, so you ask for the French fries, which is $2.50.
Yeah, can I get some ranch?
I'll just go to McDonald's and get some French fries.
There you go. And you can find my work at CarolinaCatChronicles.com, and be sure to check us out on Tuesday nights, 10 o'clock for the C3 podcast. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And we will see you, actually not next week, unless we can arrange a earlier day to pre-film, because next week is
Christmas Eve.
Holiday. It's
There's a
holiday
for me, man. Tonight's my holiday.
I know.
I'm working on my holiday. What's the deal, guys?
Oh, here we go.
Happy Hanukkah, man. Happy Hanukkah.
Sound it like it is.
No, I'm good. I enjoy this. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it in the first place.
For sure.
He would have just put the gefilte fish sign up. Well, just know if you just check his profile picture, and he's like, "Don't mess with me right now. You got gefilte fish." All right,
I'm gonna go look for one to put on mine.
Let's put it this way: if you get one of the fish that comes out of the Manischewitz jar, then it's not exactly a fun time. I'll put it that way.
Oh, all right. That is Southbound and Down, folks. We will see you. Well, we'll let you know. If not, we'll pick up the week after on Wednesday. And good luck to somebody trying to make the playoffs, because you get the 21st pick.
That's right.